The phone call came at 11:47 p.m. Her voice was calm, too calm. Jennifer told police her husband was missing. She said he never came home. But the truth was darker. He was already dead. From the outside, their life looked perfect. A large home, 3 children, a respected military husband. Matthew was a devoted father, a disciplined soldier. Friends trusted him. Jennifer appeared to be a caring wife, a quiet mother. No one suspected her, but behind closed doors, the marriage was falling apart. Arguments became routine. Divorce was discussed. Court documents revealed deep dysfunction. Matthew grew afraid. He began sleeping away from home. He told friends he needed out. But Jennifer had already chosen another path. She was living a double life, a secret affair, a dangerous obsession. 2 days before the murder, she showed her lover a loaded gun. That night, she sent the children away. The house was silent. Matthew went to sleep. He never woke up. Jennifer took his gun. She shot him in the head while he slept. She later admitted it. Then came the cut. She placed his body in a storage container, dragged it down the stairs, loaded it into a van. She destroyed his phone, abandoned his truck, then drove north. She buried him somewhere unknown. To this day, his body has never been found. Back home, she cleaned everything. Bleach, carpet cleaner, a brand new mattress. But her biggest mistake was talking. She confessed to her lover. He recorded her. Her voice was cold, detached. He wasn't a person anymore, she said. He wasn't Matthew. Those words sealed her fate. Days later, she finally reported him missing, but police already had evidence. Audio recordings, bloodstains, GPS data. The truth surfaced fast. Jennifer was arrested for murder. Then her parents were charged for helping cover it up. Still, Matthew remains missing. 3 children lost their father. Their mother now sits in jail. This was not a crime of passion. It was a crime of choice. And it leaves one haunting question, Baidi. Summer, their marriage was already broken. Not loudly, not publicly, but quietly, dangerously. Jennifer and Matthew barely spoke without arguing. Every conversation turned sharp. Every disagreement felt personal. Court records later showed something disturbing. The relationship wasn't just unhappy. It was toxic. Jennifer filed for a protective order. She claimed fear. She claimed abuse. But when a judge reviewed the evidence, the story fell apart. Video showed no fear. Text messages showed something worse. She was aggressive, belittling, provoking. The order was dismissed. Matthew felt exposed. Friends noticed a change. He stopped sleeping at home. He stayed at his military facility instead. He told people the truth. "I need a divorce," he said. "It's time." But Matthew didn't know everything. Jennifer was already emotionally gone. She had another man, a secret relationship, a place to escape. What began as an affair slowly became a plan. 2 days before Matthew died, Jennifer showed her lover a gun. Not in fear, not casually, deliberately. A loaded handgun, kept in the house. At the time, it didn't seem strange. Military families owned weapons. But later, that moment meant everything. Jennifer also made another move. She sent the children away, to her parents' house. No witnesses. No interruptions. Just silence. September 20th arrived. Matthew came home. He had discovered the affair. That night, neighbors later reported shouting. A farce argument. Years of resentment. Exploding at once. Bossy's door slammed. Then quiet. In the early morning hours, Matthew went to sleep. Exhausted. Unaware. He trusted the woman beside him. That trust would cost him his life. In the darkness, Jennifer made her decision. A decision she would never take back. It was still dark. The house was silent. No children. No noise, no witnesses. Matthew was asleep. Deep sleep, the kind you fall into after exhaustion. He never moved. He never woke up. Jennifer stood in the bedroom. The gun was in her hands. Cold, heavy, loaded. This wasn't panic. This wasn't fear. This was a choice. She aimed. No warning. No argument. Just one pull of the trigger. Sound. Gunshot. The bullet struck Matthew in the head. Instant. Final. The man who survived deployments didn't survive his own home. For a few seconds, Jennifer stood there, frozen. Then she moved. She wrapped his body, dragged him from the bed, down the stairs. Every step left a mark. Every sound echoed. She placed him inside a rooftop storage container, closed the lid, locked him away. Then she went further. She smashed his phone, destroyed his last connection to the world. She drove his truck, left it abandoned in another neighborhood. A false trail. Before sunrise, Jennifer loaded Matthew's body into her minivan. She drove north, far from Oma, far from help somewhere remote. She buried him. A shallow grave. No marker. No name. Just dirt. When she returned home, the cleanup began. Bleach. Carpet cleaner. New mattress ordered. She erased him from the house, but she couldn't erase herself. Later that night, Jennifer went to see her lover. Her hands were bruised, her body marked. When he asked why, she told him the truth. Everything. She said it calmly. She said it casually, as if she were describing a bad day. The man was terrified. He realized something chilling. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. And Jennifer, she wasn't scared. She wasn't ashamed. She spoke of Matthew in the past tense, before anyone even knew he was missing. The phone rang late. Almost midnight. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. Jennifer made the call herself. Her voice was calm. Too calm. She reported her husband missing. She told police a story. Matthew had left. He needed space. He said not to call. But something was wrong. Very wrong. Before that call, Matthew was already dead, and Jennifer knew it. Days earlier, she had already told someone else the truth. Her lover, she showed up at his home. Unannounced. Her eyes were flat. Her hands were bruised, she confessed. Everything. She said she shot Matthew while he slept. She said she buried him. She said she cleaned the house. No tears. No panic. Just facts. The man felt sick. This wasn't shock. This wasn't regret. This was cold control. He didn't confront her. He didn't argue. He listened. And he made a decision. He recorded their next call. Every word. Every pause. Jennifer didn't know. She spoke freely. She said Matthew wasn't a person anymore. She said she wasn't afraid, she said. Not if he deserved it. That sentence changed everything. Because while Jennifer was pretending to search for her husband, she was already talking like a killer. 6 days passed. Then she made it official. She reported Matthew missing, but law enforcement was already uneasy. Matthew never missed duty. Never disappeared, never vanished without a trace. And now, there was evidence, voices, messages, a recording that couldn't lie. The trap was closing. Slowly. Quietly. Police entered the house quietly. No sirens. No flashing lights. Just questions. At first glance, everything looked normal. Tout normal. The floors were clean. The walls were spotless. The bedroom smelled sharp. Bleach. Investigators paused. People don't deep clean when a loved one vanishes. They search. They panic. They beg for help. Jennifer didn't. She organized. In the master bedroom, an officer knelt down. He looked under the bed and froze. There was blood, dark, dried, soaked deep into the carpet. Someone had tried to hide it, but blood never forgets. More stains appeared. On the bed frame, on the wall, on the blinds. Small spots, missed spots, mistakes. Then came the mattress, brand new. No tags removed properly, delivered days after Matthew vanished. That was the moment. This wasn't a disappearance. This was a crime scene. Investigators pulled phone records, purchase history, GPS data. Jennifer's phone told a story. A long drive north late at night. Stops that made no sense. Places no grieving wife would go. And then they listened to the recording. The one her lover gave them, her voice was clear. Detached. Unbothered. She spoke about killing her husband like she was talking about the weather. No emotion. No fear. That recording erased all doubt. Officers returned, this time with handcuffs. Jennifer didn't scream. She didn't cry. She stared forward. Charged with murder. Charged with obstruction. Charged with destroying a body. But the case wasn't finished. Not even close. Because the most terrifying question remained unanswered. Where was Matthew? The search began at dawn. Cold air. Heavy silence. Hope. Mixed with dread. Police combed forests. Fields. Back roads. Anywhere a body could be hidden. Volunteers joined in. Friends. Strangers. Soldiers who once stood beside Matthew. They walked miles. They dug. They waited. Nothing. No grave. No trace. It was like Matthew had vanished into the earth itself. Then investigators widened the scope. They checked traffic cameras, gas stations, highway toll points. Jennifer's phone lit up the map. A route heading north. Late-night driving. Stops that lasted minutes. Then, ours. One stop stood out. Remote. Isolated. Far from homes. Search teams returned there. Again. And again. Still, nothing. But the evidence didn't stop outside. It moved closer to home. Investigators looked at Jennifer's parents. Their statements didn't match. Timelines shifted. Details changed. Phone records showed something disturbing. They had been inside Jennifer's house for hours, not minutes. After the murder, after the cleanup, then came the purchase. Mattress, ordered under her mother's name. Delivered days later. Police searched the parents' house. Carefully, methodically. In a storage bin, wrapped in a child's onesie, they found a gun case. The same kind Jennifer showed her lover, the same weapon described in her confession. That changed everything. This wasn't one person acting alone. This was a family trying to erase a crime. Charges followed. Obstruction. Evidence tampering. Lies stacked on top of lies. Still, nobody. Matthew remained missing. A father. A soldier. A man erased almost perfectly. But one thing was becoming clear. Jennifer hadn't just planned the murder. She planned the silence afterward. And the longer the body stayed hidden, the louder the truth became. The truth didn't come from the ground. It came from a voice. Recorded.com. Terrifying. Jennifer trusted one person. Her lover. The man she thought would protect her secret. Instead, he became her undoing. Days after Matthew vanished, Jennifer went to him, latte at night, unannounced. She looked exhausted, bruised, but strangely relieved. Then she spoke. I killed him. At first, He thought she was joking. She wasn't. She told him everything. How Matthew was asleep, how quiet the house was, how easy it was. She described the gun, the sound, the moment it ended. No tears, no panic, just facts. That's when fear set in. Real fear. He noticed bruises on her arms, dirt under her nails when they asked it. She answered without hesitation. From burying him. He went home shaking, unable to sleep. The next day, he made a decision. A dangerous one. He recorded their calls, every word, every pause, every chilling sentence. On one call, he confronted her, told her he was scared. Her response was cold, detached. You really think I could hurt someone? Then she said something unforgettable. He wasn't a person anymore. He wasn't Matt. She had erased him in her mind before she erased his body. When asked if she was afraid, if roles were reversed, say, low, not if I deserved it. Those recordings changed everything. Before Matthew was even reported missing, she spoke of him in the past tense. That detail mattered. A lot. The lover saved everything. Texts, calls, timestamps. And then he went to police. Investigators listened in silence. Faces frozen. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't panic. This was intention. With those recordings, the case cracked wide open. The knock didn't come at night. It came in daylight.com/controlled. Final. Jennifer thought she still had time. She was wrong. Police already knew about the recordings, about the confession, about the cleanup. They had warrants. They had evidence. They had patience. On the morning of October 2nd, detectives arrived at her door. Jennifer didn't scream, didn't run, didn't cry. She opened the door. That smile vanished fast. They searched the house, room by room, slowly. In the master bedroom, the lie collapsed. Under the bed, they found blood. Old blood, deep in the carpet. The walls smelled like bleach. Too much bleach. The mattress, brand new. Too new. Receipts confirmed it. Ordered days after Matthew disappeared. Delivered quietly. Then came the phone data. Cold precise. Her movements told the story. Early morning drives. On May 12, 2020, Jennifer Pan was pulled over by police. As the officer approached her car, he noticed she was frantically trying to clean something from the passenger seat. That something turned out to be blood. When asked where she was coming from, Jennifer's story quickly unraveled. She claimed she was with her boyfriend, Matthew, but couldn't explain why he was with her now or why his blood was in her car. Her inconsistent answers led to her immediate arrest for the murder of Matthew, even though his body was nowhere to be found. The investigation kicked off with a search of Jennifer's home, which she shared with her parents. Right away, detectives felt something was off. Jennifer's parents, Gary and Elizabeth, seemed unusually calm, almost rehearsed in their responses. They claimed Matthew was a troubled young man who would simply run away. They even showed officers text messages from Matthew saying he was safe and just needed some space. But the detectives weren't buying it. Something about their story didn't add up. Why would Matthew run away and leave his car, wallet, and phone behind? Police decided to dig deeper into Jennifer's parents. They obtained search warrants for their cell phone records, and what they found was shocking. Location data from their phones placed both Gary and Elizabeth at a remote, wooded area late on the night Matthew disappeared. This was the same area where Matthew's phone last pinged before it was turned off permanently. The pieces were starting to fit together, painting a much darker picture of the parents' involvement. They weren't just concerned bystanders. They seemed to be at the center of a cover-up. While the digital trail was damning, the police still needed physical evidence. They returned to the family home for a second, more thorough search. This time, they brought in a canine unit. In the parents' master bedroom, hidden away in a closet, they found an empty gun box. The box was for a .22 caliber pistol, the same caliber as the single shell casing found in Jennifer's car. But where was the gun? Gary and Elizabeth denied owning a firearm, but the discovery of the box told a different story. The pressure was mounting. Armed with the cell phone data and the discovery of the gun box, police arrested Gary and Elizabeth as accomplices to murder. They believed the couple had helped their daughter dispose of Matthew's body and potentially the murder weapon. The text messages they'd shown the police, investigators suspected they were faked, sent from Matthew's phone by the parents themselves, to create a false trail and mislead the investigation. It was a cold, calculated attempt to protect their daughter and themselves. Despite the arrests of Jennifer and her parents, one crucial piece of the puzzle remains missing. Matthew's body. The wooded area identified by the cell phone data has been searched extensively, but to no avail. For Matthew's family, the nightmare is far from over. They are left with unanswered questions and the agonizing pain of not being able to lay their son to rest. The search for Matthew continues, as his loved ones hold on to hope for justice and closure. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more updates on this and other cases. The call came in quietly. No sirens, no headlines, just a location and a question. What's floating in the water? Investigators arrived at a remote area. Cold, silent, hidden from view. There, drifting near the edge, was a large rooftop storage container, the kind used on vehicles. It looked ordinary until they opened it. Inside, they found blood. A lot of blood. Lab tests confirmed it. The blood belonged to Matthew. The container told a story, one Jennifer hoped would never surface. This wasn't panic. This wasn't chaos. This was planning. Prosecutors now had physical proof. Not just words. Not just recordings. Jennifer had moved his body. Transported it. Tried to hide it forever. But the container raised new questions. Where was Matthew now? If this was used, then where was the grave? Search efforts expanded again. More counties. More terrain. More time. Military friends joined once more. They searched in silence. Focused. Determined. Because leaving a soldier behind was never an option by court. Prosecutors laid everything out. The confession, the recordings, the GPS data, the cleanup, the container. The picture was complete. Jennifer was denied bail. The judge didn't hesitate. She was a danger. To others, to the case. She remained behind bars, waiting. But one question still haunted everyone. Why? Why not divorce? Why not walk away? The answer pointed to money. A life insurance policy. $500,000. Jennifer was the beneficiary. But with murder charges pending, the money was frozen. A court battle began. Over a life, reduced to a payout. Meanwhile, 3 children waited. Their father was gone. Their mother was in jail. No answers. No closure. Only silence. Money changes everything. Sometimes quietly, sometimes violently. Investigators followed the paper trail. Slowly, carefully. It led straight to one thing. A life insurance policy, $500,000. Matthew had taken it out years earlier. For his family. For safety. For the future. Jennifer was listed as the beneficiary. That detail mattered a lot. Because now, Matthew was gone, and Jennifer stood to gain everything. But money alone wasn't enough, not for murder. So detectives looked deeper. They reviewed messages, phone calls, deleted texts. What they found was disturbing. Jennifer had been living 2 lives. One as a grieving wife. The other, hidden. An affair. Secret. Intense. Emotional. Witnesses confirmed it. Friends noticed changes. Late nights, constant phone use. Distance. Matthew had found out. And when he did, everything shifted. The argument wasn't small. It wasn't quiet. It was explosive voices, raised accusations thrown. Years of tension released at once. That night ended differently than Jennifer claimed, and prosecutors believed one thing: this wasn't an accident. This was a choice. A choice to avoid divorce. A choice to avoid custody battles. A choice to avoid financial loss. And instead, end a life. Jennifer's behavior after the killing made it worse. She cleaned. She replaced furniture. She erased messages. She acted relieved. Witnesses noticed. So did police. Then came the confession. Not to officers, but to someone she trusted. Someone who recorded everything. Her words were cold, detached, almost proud. She wasn't a person anymore. That sentence changed everything. In court, the defense tried to push back. They said emotions were high. They said it was reckless. They said it wasn't planned, but the evidence said otherwise. Timing, preparation, cover-up. It all pointed one way. The judge agreed. No bail, no release. No sympathy. Jennifer would stay locked up, waiting for trial. And still, Matthew hadn't been found, which made the pain heavier. For his parents, for his friends, for his children. Because, without a body, there is no goodbye. It was just another ordinary Tuesday morning when Matthew kissed his wife, Sarah, goodbye, and headed out the door for work. He told her he loved her, and that he'd be home for dinner, just like any other day. But Matthew never came home. The hours ticked by, turning into a long, agonizing night for Sarah and their 2 young children. Her calls to his phone went straight to voicemail. By the next morning, annoying fear had settled in her stomach. This wasn't like Matthew. He was dependable, a family man through and through. He would never just disappear. Panicked, Sarah called the police and reported her husband missing. The initial investigation treated it as a standard missing person case. Maybe he needed some space. Maybe he went on an impromptu trip. But Sarah knew better. Something was terribly wrong. She started her own desperate search, plastering missing posters with Matthew's smiling face all over town and creating a social media page that quickly gained traction. The community rallied around her, organizing search parties that combed through local parks, woods, and abandoned buildings. But day after day, they found nothing. Not a single clue. The police investigation began to uncover some unsettling details. Matthew's car was found abandoned in a parking lot miles from his office, with his wallet and phone still inside. This immediately raised red flags. Why would he leave his most essential belongings behind? Detectives started digging into Matthew's life, looking for anyone who might have wanted to harm him. They interviewed his colleagues, friends, and extended family. Everyone described him as a kind, gentle person with no known enemies. He was a loving husband and a doting father. The case was a baffling puzzle with no clear pieces. As weeks turned into months, the media attention grew. Matthew's disappearance became a national story, featured on news programs and true crime podcasts. Theories swirled online. Had he been a victim of a random act of violence? Was he leading a secret double life that his family knew nothing about? The speculation was a cruel and constant torture for Sarah, who had to shield her children from the rumors, while grappling with her own suffocating grief and uncertainty. She maintained a brave face for the cameras, pleading for any information, her voice cracking with emotion as she begged for her husband's safe return. Then, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. An anonymous tip led investigators to a remote, wooded area about an hour from where Matthew's car was found. Deep within the dense forest, they made a grim discovery. It was a shallow grave. The search for Matthew was over, but a new, more horrifying chapter had just begun. The hunt for his killer. The investigation shifted from a missing person case to a homicide. The focus eventually zeroed in on a disgruntled former colleague Matthew had fired a few months prior. This individual had made subtle threats that were initially dismissed, but now seemed incredibly sinister. Financial records showed the colleague was in deep debt, and further investigation revealed he had purchased suspicious items, gloves, and tarps just days before Matthew vanished. The circumstantial evidence was piling up, painting a dark picture of jealousy and revenge. After a tense interrogation, the colleague confessed. The motive was a twisted mix of resentment over being fired and a desperate attempt to rob Matthew, which had tragically escalated. For Sarah and her family, the arrest brought a strange and hollow sense of closure. They had answers, but the answers couldn't bring Matthew back. The man who had taken him was brought to justice, but the void he left in their lives would remain forever. Matthew's story is a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly life can change and the devastating ripple effects of a single, senseless act. It is a testament to a family, its enduring love, and their relentless fight for truth in the face of unimaginable loss. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more. Picture this: a packed courtroom, the air thick with tension. A young man, let's call him Alex, is on trial for a crime he swears he didn't commit. The evidence against him seems overwhelming. A security camera video, a witness testimony, even his fingerprints at the scene. His lawyer, a seasoned but weary public defender, seems to be fighting a losing battle. The prosecutor is a rising star, sharp and relentless, painting Alex as a cold, calculating criminal. Every day, the case looks bleaker. The jury's faces are unreadable, but you can feel their doubt. Alex's family sits in the front row, their hope fading with each new piece of evidence presented by the prosecution. But then, something shifts. A small detail, almost insignificant, catches the defense lawyer's eye. A reflection in a window in the security footage. A slight hesitation in the witness's voice. It's a tiny thread, but she pulls on it. She starts her cross-examination, not with a roar, but with a quiet, persistent series of questions. She asks the key witness about the weather that night. Was it raining? The witness says no. It was a clear night, but the security footage, when in NCD, shows glistening pavement. A small lie, but why lie? But the rain. The lawyer digs deeper. She brings in a meteorologist who confirms a sudden downpour occurred at the exact time of the crime. The witness's credibility starts to crumble. Next, she re-examines the security footage, frame by agonizing frame. That reflection in the window, it wasn't just a random glint of light. It shows another person, a fleeting shadow, at the edge of the frame, wearing a distinctive jacket. A jacket the police report mentioned was found discarded a block away from the crime scene, but was dismissed as irrelevant. The courtroom is buzzing now. The prosecutor objects, calling it speculation, a desperate attempt to create confusion. But the judge, intrigued, allows it. The lawyer then calls a surprise witness, a forensic textile expert. She testifies that a single fiber found on the victim's clothing matches the fabric of that discarded jacket, not anything Alex was wearing. Suddenly, the entire narrative built by the prosecution begins to unravel. The overwhelming evidence is now full of holes. The climax arrives when the defense lawyer presents her final argument. She doesn't just argue reasonable doubt, she paints a completely new picture of the crime. A picture with a different culprit, a phantom figure who slipped away in the rain. She replays the key witness's testimony, pointing out how their story conveniently changed to fit the police's initial theory. She asks the jury not to believe in Alex's innocence blindly, but to look at the facts that were ignored, the questions that were never asked. Finally, the jury files out. The wait is excruciating. Hours feel like days. Alex sits stone-faced, his life hanging in the balance. His family huddles together, praying. Then, the jury returns. The foreman stands, holding a piece of paper. The entire room holds its breath. He clears his throat and utters the two words that change everything. Not guilty. A wave of gasps and sobs wash over the courtroom. Alex collapses into his lawyer's arms, tears streaming down his face. Justice, it turns out, isn't always about the loudest voice or the most obvious evidence. Sometimes, it's found in the smallest details, in the quiet pursuit of truth. It's a powerful reminder that things are not always as they seem. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more.